Welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name's, of course, Csaw or Chris, and today we're talking about Old School MapleStory in 2024. This is a very exciting video for me to make because for anyone who's been a part of this channel for a while now, you'll know that MapleStory is a very important part of my childhood. It was my gateway MMO. There's a lot of people who either started with Vanilla WoW, Old School RuneScape, or MapleStory. I think those are kind of like the big three branches. Obviously, there's a ton of other MMOs you could have found yourself in, but I think a lot of journeys were started with those games, and Old School MapleStory was my journey, and it's always held a very special place in my heart because of that. Now, I've made videos about MapleStory on this channel before, sometimes about some of the new gameplay that's there, and really like a lot of these old school MMOs changed very dramatically over its life cycle. Specifically with MapleStory, there was a patch called the Big Bang patch where a lot of people kind of point at, this is where things really took a different turn. And if you were to look at what MapleStory looks like now, it looks very different than what the old school version of the game is, to the point where you're not playing the same game. Because of that, as old school servers became popular over the last, I don't know, it's like 5 years now since, WoW really did it and saw success with it. And obviously Old School RuneScape did it kind of even before that, I think. There's always been this question is, will Nexon do an official old school server? And I want to stop right there and say that's not what this is. We're not there yet, but this is the absolute tip of the iceberg in terms of what I hope the possibilities for this looks like as we move forward. So what is it? Well, over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of discussion about a soft launch of MapleStory Worlds coming to America. And within MapleStory Worlds, you have the ability to play kind of custom MapleStory games and create your own games. It's an engine of some sort, very similar to Roblox, where a lot of user-generated content happens. Within that system, there is the ability to essentially recreate old school versions of the game, and that's what we're going to be talking about here. This system, MapleStory Worlds, launched in Korea, I think it's like 2 years ago now, so they've had a lot more time to develop this, and to the point where there is pretty much a pretty close remake of old school MapleStory called Mapleland there. That is the true experience that you could play, and as close to a official old school server as you could possibly get to. What we're going to be talking about here is a different version. It's called Artale. It's a similar old school server that has a bit more custom features and is jankier. But it was the first one that was able to get ported to North America in English, and because of that, it is the only option of a official old school server that you could play in America for MapleStory right now, which makes players kind of deal with whatever kind of jankiness is going on. I think there's also a charming factor about having a janky game that everyone's dealing with. If it's kind of like the same deal with like it being a grindy game or something like that. If everyone's in the same boat, it kind of makes it a fun experience because everyone's dealing with this jankiness in different ways. So we'll touch on that in a second. But anyways, that's the game we're going to be talking about here. I've put the kind of way you get the game in the first few minutes of this video. It's very simple. I didn't really think we needed to do a full tutorial for it, so I just kind of put it in there. But you look up MapleStory Worlds. There's a big button that says like play. You click it. You'll have to have a Nexon account. Once you've done that and you've got MapleStory Worlds logged into your account, you go and find one called Artale. You click play again. It'll ask you to, if it's kind of your first time doing it, you'll have to get the kind of launcher on your computer. It is just a quick install for that. And then you again push play for Artale. And it launches within, I'd say, the first couple of minutes. It obviously is loading a bunch of stuff onto your PC to make it more seamless, but it's certainly not like downloading a full MMORPG onto your computer. It's very quick. I'd say the whole entire process took me probably 15 minutes to get, from looking up Maple Worlds to in the game. And a good 5 minutes of that was me trying to figure out my old password for Nexon. So if you cut that out, you're going to be really, really quick and in the game. Obviously, if you have any issues, just comment in the video and we can try and resolve that as well. It is region locked at this point, I believe. So there's obviously the Korean version, and this is an America's version. So it's not a full global release. Hopefully, as they see people interested in this, they try and expand to other areas pretty quickly. So that would be kind of the hope there. But yeah, so we're in the game. We've got the beautiful MapleStory music in the background, and it's pretty surreal. Like it really is. It has been so long since I've played an official old school server on MapleStory of any sort on my computer, like my main computer. I've dabbled in under the table servers for Old School MapleStory to kind of scratch that itch over the years. And there's some really good ones out there that are completely the real feel of the old school game, but they're not official. So you run the risk of them being deleted or removed overnight. You run the risk of your if you're a content creator, of your channel being suspended and stuff like that. And that's always been something that's been a hurdle for me to really share my passion for MapleStory. And I've just been biding my time as we've seen old school games kind of surge in popularity. I'm like, it could happen one of these days. And this is the start of it. This is the absolute start of it. Let's talk about the jankiness. Janky is the word that people are using for it. This is not gonna feel like one of those illegitimate servers that is the actual game running. This is a remake of it, and there is some stuff that feels a bit weird. There is, a bit of like just some weird things. Like you can't attack while laying prone. There's some weird bugs where if you're like trying to climb up a rope, you can kind of jump off and on the rope a bunch to make yourself go quicker. The most noticeable one that's in everything you do is, I'd say that the knockback system for enemies is not always working as well as it should be. If you've played a lot of old school MapleStory and you come and play this, I think that's the one that's the most noticeable and the one that you kind of experience the most. Now, I watched a lot of people playing the server because I think it launched maybe 3 days ago now from when this video goes live. And there was a long time where I had hesitation to play this because it looked so janky that I was like, oh, I kind of want to just wait until like maybe Maple Land, the more official version of this, will come over, or maybe eventually Nexon will see the popularity of this and re-release the actual game as a old school version. But eventually I was watching too much Twitch and too much YouTube. I was like, I should play this. I should check it out. I should make a video. So I did. And the jankiness feels a lot less bad than it looks. When you're playing it, it feels very playable. It feels fun. You're doing the quests. You're getting the growth of your character. There's a lot of party quests that you get to do. There's a lot of people in the game, which is really fun. You're not very focused on the jankiness, even though it is there. Again, the fact that everyone's dealing with it and it's not like your computer is causing the issues and you're like, oh, I wish this game would run how it's supposed to. That's not the case. It's this janky for everyone. Obviously, the devs that are working on this can improve it over time as well. So there is that too. But yeah, I was like, let's do it. Let's give it a go. And I've been enjoying it. Now, my other fear was, am I going to put all this time into leveling a character on Artale and then essentially have Maple Land or another server come that becomes the official one that everyone's playing? There is that risk. There for sure is. But one of the things I've learned over the last few years as I've seen the WoW hardcore excitement wave, as I've seen classic WoW launch in that excitement wave, as I've seen the Final Fantasy, kind of resurgence of people that came to that game. There's something to be said for playing an MMO or any game when it is the talk of the month, when it is the thing that everyone's streaming and everyone's talking about. And I didn't really understand that for a few of those events. I would kind of watch it and be like, oh, that's super fun. And then, a few months would go by and it would die down, and eventually I would try it and I would have a lot of fun playing it. But I think I missed out on some of the excitement of being a part of the kind of the hype around it, right? And I wanted to not do that this time. I felt myself starting to do that by watching a lot of Twitch, a lot of YouTube. And I was like, no, it's exciting now. There might be a new server. There might be a new game to play later. But capture the excitement in the moment. And that's something I'm really trying to do with games, is not delay playing them when I know they're the game to be playing right now. Obviously, grand scheme of gaming, Old School MapleStory is probably a little story. But if you're at all interested in MapleStory and were ever interested in an old school server, I think you should get in while it is exciting. You know, maybe this will fizzle out after a month and we'll all be waiting for a less janky server to really sink time into. But it's a fun thing to experience for the moment, and I think it's really worth doing that. So yeah, I just wanted to make a video. This one's a really quick introductory one. I've so far gotten to level 10, and I'm about to get my job advancement on my bandit, if people were wondering what I was making, because the dice roll is a pretty weird one where you're not necessarily going for a specific stat, but you don't need int, because I don't know if there's a HP washing, but I'm not gonna be bothered if there is. So I just int 4, and then all of the other stats are kind of useful as a bandit to varying degrees. Unless there is different things on this server that makes that not true, in which case don't take this as advice. But yeah, that's the journey. I hope to make more videos about my journey through this game. Certainly if there is a launch of Maple Lands or a more official one, I think I'll really go, you know, the full hog and make a detailed journey. Because it's something I've been wanting to do with other games. Obviously, we've been doing the Final Fantasy one for a long time now, which will continue. But I've wanted to do, you know, some of these games that I've been waiting for. And this is the first step in being able to do it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know this one was a bit rambly and all over the place. I'm just really excited about the game and kind of wanted to share about it in some way. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like, how are people playing this? This is how. Go watch the first few minutes of this video again. It's really quick. If you're in the right region, it does not take long at all. And then hopefully it'll be expanded to other regions soon. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.